We are at the beautiful Savin Theater in Los Angeles, California on this Monday, October 17th. Can you please tell me your experience this evening here?
Well, I was invited here by Kyla, both you, Rocio, and I. We got to listen to Marianne Williamson speak, give a live lecture about life, and it's my first time hearing her live, someone who I really admired and kind of thought was far away, just because she's like kind of brilliant in her thoughts. So my experience I'm kind of processing seeing her as a real human being, and really excited to have heard her not just talking about almost like existential things or love or romantic things, but she was talking about politics and a call to action about why we as spiritual and enlightened people need to actually do something about what's going on in the world. And she not only talked about the elections that's coming up, but she also said white supremacy and racism and police brutality and imperialism, and she was using all these words that I feel like I have become afraid to use, and my people are getting targeted for using, and she just put it out there. So this for me has been very powerful.
I feel very full right now and inspired and moved.
No, it's ours.
And angry and open and responsible. She was talking about that this election and what's currently happening in American politics is not just a result of a darkness rising up. It's a result of a light being withheld within ourselves and not standing up for what we know is right. And some quotes that I wrote down that really spoke to me were, we have to stand up for who we want to be. We have to stand up for the principles that this country was built upon. And she said that from the beginning of the Constitution, America has always been contrary to those principles. We haven't always lived up to them. Slavery was around for 300 years. I mean, from the beginning, we haven't been adhering to those principles, but it's the pursuit of those principles and the willingness to stand up for them and to want to be better. The desire to want to be better is what makes America an amazing place, and what makes us powerful is that pursuit. And so while those of us who hate are so loud, let those of us who love stop whispering. That really hit me, because it's not about what we don't want in this election, what we don't want in a president. It's about what we do want as Americans and as people and as spiritual beings that are not only spiritual beings but political beings. She kept talking about it's not a coincidence that Gandhi was also as spiritual as he was. And it's not a coincidence that Martin Luther King Jr. was also a preacher. And it's not about separation of church and state. That's a whole separate issue, which is a good thing, right? It's about spiritual people standing up and getting involved in politics, because then they have something higher guiding them. We have something higher that we want to stand upon. We're not just serving ourselves. We're serving the greater good. We're serving the aspirations that this country was built upon.
I think that was one of the most meaningful parts for me, because I have been very silent for a long time. In the last few years, when like Facebook and Instagram has taken off with a lot of like quotes of like just breathe and believe, and a lot of really amazing motivational quotes, which I think are super helpful. What I have seen lacking in the people that kind of put it up and repost, and even sometimes myself reposting, is that some of these quotes exist in a vacuum. It's almost like saying, if you just wake up and breathe and believe that everything's going to be okay, all of a sudden you're going to poof manifest into this amazing human being and this amazing world. And that's not the full reality. I think that's only part of the reality. I do believe that we are prisons in our minds, and so we need to be able to breathe and believe that we can manifest something good. But then we also have to put in the work.
Yes.
And we need to organize, and it needs to be people together.
Waking up is a collective process.
Yeah.
And she was speaking about how in Michael Moore's documentary, Where to Invade Next, he talks about how children are educated in Germany. And she said,
yes.
you better believe that those children are taught about what happened in their history. They are taught. It is really pounded into them what happened.
Yeah.
And I've met that. I've come across many Germans in Europe that are constantly talking about the history and knowing what happened. And she said, in America, we're not taught our history. We're not taught about the civil rights movement. We're not taught about slavery.
Yep.
There's so much guilt about it that it's just brushed over, the genocide of the Native Americans. We're not taught about it.
Yeah.
And if we're not taught about things, if we're ashamed and there's this guilt and we're not learning, then these things can repeat. And I think that's what's happening now, that an energy is rising up where we're looking at it and going, what could this become? It's not about any one election. It's about the energy that has been awakened. There's a dark energy that's been awakened, and there's something that's out there that was there and it was latent.
Yeah.
But if we're not educating each other about it and learning about the past and healing from the past, then the past repeats.
Yes.
So it's up to us as the light bringers to say, okay, yes, that dark energy is there,
Yeah.
but we accept that's the past, and even though it's coming into the present right now, we have to stand up upon those principles so that the light shines and outshines the darkness.
I feel that. I feel that so much. And I'm happy to have been activated. I feel like part of it is I take for granted.
Well, that's what she said. She also said that Jewish people, African Americans, gay people that have really had to fight for those rights or who have seen these awful genocides or wars or slavery in their time, they are the ones who do stand up and say, stop right there, because I've seen this before, and there's a freedom that's being threatened because that freedom was earned and it had to be fought for. So when she was saying that, I just thought it was so powerful, because there's a reason why people say, stop right there.
Yeah.
I know about this. The things you're saying are threatening my freedoms, because my freedoms weren't just given to me. I had to fight for them. Women and women's suffrage and everything.
Yeah.
So I love that thought, that we have to say stop right there. And she was saying we as Americans right now have to say stop right there so that America can once again rise up as a global power and bless the world with the good that it can do.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that was one of the things that really that I felt in a way that I have never felt before. I've always been so cynical hearing God bless America, because I grew up in a country that was invaded by the United States, like literally military invasion, and before that years of sanctions, and I've known how violent and cruel people like in America could be, and so it's taken me many years to see the beauty, the positive, and the struggle in this country, which I now understand that it's complex. But she was like, we need a prayer, we need a miracle, we need to be activated, and all of those things came with when she said, God, right, the universe, please bless America. And when she said that, I felt like it was a very conscious, very political act to say we need to awaken, we need help in this, we need to love, and we need to realize our humanity in a way that we're so detached from it right now, that we need a divine help. And if prayer can be useful, and the way that it is to make us then become activated to do something together
And to recognize our own divinity. in our own light. And that's what standing up does. And then at the end of all of this, she officiated a marriage between two men that had been together for 28 years. And I've never Facebook Lived anything in my life. I don't understand Facebook Live. I'm like, what is so necessary about Facebook Live? Although lately, with what's been going on with police brutality, I'm like, oh, I understand the need for Facebook Live.
Yeah.
But today I used it for good in the sense that I wanted to show this beautiful wedding of these men that have been together for 28 years and have survived so much together, and we were blessed with their energy and with their union and that right that they fought for.
Right.
That we sit here, everybody is born with their own amount of privilege. And we sit here as women, as heterosexual women, able to be like, that was a privilege we were given born, married. And they haven't been given that. Everything just made me feel so grateful and aware and awake.
So I am really grateful for today. Yep.
That song, Get Up, Stand Up, has different meaning now. You know what I mean? Stand up. Or it's like, no, really, stand up.
Like, do something.
Because social media and everything that's changing with technology and like you were saying, the quotes, the positivity, the things you see, we have these moments of inspiration and sometimes we think they're enough, but they're not enough. We have to keep standing. It's just like standing with Standing Rock. And the protests that are still going, like we have to keep standing up. Yeah, it just made me want to just go do something and not just be inspiring people with a quote.
Yeah, because the reality is, in many circumstances, unless we put our bodies, physical bodies on the line,
What we'll do next time is we'll sit on the front row, like there.
We have to be serious grown-ups.
yeah. That was crazy when she said that, because it literally made me question my humanity and my goals and my aims. And through having an organization that is supposed to be doing all these things, sometimes I take for granted, like, yeah, I'm doing the right thing, but you can get focused on, are we making money? Am I doing the structural things that we're supposed to do? And not necessarily thinking about, am I serving the purpose every single day? And so is that purpose then aligned with the mission, with the career, right? Because you could have a mission and a career, and if you're not actually doing something and serving a purpose, then what's the point? You're like in a
And
shell.
what are you standing up for?
If each of you can say one sentence to Marianne, what would it be?
I stand with you.
Thank you for your connectedness and for your conscious light that you shine, reminding me of my permission to shine mine.
Thank you for reminding us why we need to stand with you and why we need to stand together in love and in light. This was our night tonight.